Hey guys, and welcome to MMA StatBot. Today we're going to be doing a statistical breakdown of Oliveira vs Dariush for UFC 289. First, let's compare their UFC records. Oliveira has 21 wins, 10 losses, and 0 draws, whereas Dariush has 16 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. If we compare their win-loss ratio, Dariush has a win-loss ratio of 4, which is almost double that of Oliveira. But this doesn't give any context into the caliber of opponents they've faced, so let's look into that further. To see the caliber of the opponents that these fighters have faced, let's look at the combined records of their opponents. The combined record of fighters that have fought Oliveira in the UFC are 379 wins, 257 losses, and 4 draws, whereas for Dariush, 194 wins, 139 losses, and 1 draw. If we compare the win-loss ratio for the combined records, we can see it's higher for Oliveira, indicating he has met better opponents throughout his career. We can also compare the combined records for these fighters for each of the fighters they've defeated. Fighters that Oliveira have defeated have a record of 203 wins, 156 losses, and 2 draws, whereas fighters that Dariush have defeated have a combined record of 144 wins, 103 losses, and 0 draws. But if we compare the win-loss ratios, you can see it's slightly higher for Dariush, indicating on average he has beaten better opponents than Oliveira, which is not what I was expecting. We can also look at the combined record for fighters that these fighters have both lost to. The combined record for fighters that have beaten Oliveira are 176 wins, 101 losses, and 2 draws, whereas fighters that have beaten Dariush have a combined record of 39 wins, 27 losses, and 0 draws. If we compare the win-loss ratios, Oliveira's is significantly higher, indicating that whilst Oliveira has more losses than Dariush, these have been to better opponents than the losses of Dariush. Now, let's compare their methods of victory. Oliveira only has 2 decision wins, 3 KOs, but an enormous UFC record of 16 submissions. On the other hand, Dariush has 3 decisions, 5 KOs, and 8 submissions. The 8 submissions is 7th highest in UFC history. Also comparing their methods of lose, Oliveira has lost by decision only once, and of the 9 times he has been finished, he's lost 5 by KO and 4 by submission. On the other hand, of Dariush's 4 losses, 3 have come by knockout and only 1 by submission. Next, let's compare the striking stats for these fighters. Oliveira has a slight advantage in striking accuracy at 53% compared to 49% for Dariush, although Dariush has a significantly higher striking defense, defending 58% of opponent strikes. Dariush also has a slight edge in strikes landed per minute, being the more active fighter of the two. Let's take a closer look though at the significant strike accuracy of Oliveira, where the height of the bar on the chart is the strike accuracy, red bars are losses, and green bars are wins. We can see that in his past 8 fights, he's had some incredibly high striking accuracy, exceeding 60% on multiple occasions. However, if we take a look at the striking accuracy of his opponents, we can see this has come at a cost. His opponent's significant strike accuracy has been rapidly increasing since he fought Gita, which may cause problems on the feet versus Dariush. If we take a look at the significant strike accuracy for Dariush, we can see it's been decreasing in his past 5 fights, possibly because as his win streak extends, he faces tougher and more skilled opponents. However, if we look at the opponent's significant strike accuracy for Dariush, we can see that the accuracy of his opponents have also been decreasing in his last 5 fights, indicating that Dariush may be more cautious and measured on the feet as he's extended his win streak. Next, we'll look at knockdowns. For Oliveira, we can see that he has a 100% win rate in fights where he's landed a knockdown. Similarly, for Dariush, we can see in fights where he lands a knockdown, he has won every fight except for one, which was a draw. Next, we can look at what happens when Oliveira gets knocked down himself. Oliveira has a crazy low 40% loss rate when being knocked down, so when he's knocked down, he's more likely to win than he is to lose. I'm assuming this would have to be close to the lowest in the UFC. However, it is concerning that he's been knocked down in each of his past 3 fights, likely due to his decreasing ability to avoid opponent strikes, as I showed earlier. Looking at what happens when Dariush gets knocked down, we can see that he has a 100% loss rate. Therefore, if Oliveira connects early, it could be all over. However, he's only been knocked down in 15% of his fights and had avoided being knocked down in his past 8 fights. Now let's compare the grappling stats for Oliveira and Dariush. Oliveira attempts 2.37 takedowns per 15 minutes, being slightly higher than that for Dariush. He also has a higher takedown percentage of 40%, which is 6% higher than that for Dariush. However, there's an enormous difference in comparing takedown defense. Dariush having an astounding defense of 80%, whereas Oliveira has a takedown defense of only 55%. This may spell trouble for Oliveira, who despite having the submission record, has been tapped 4 times in his UFC career. Oliveira, however, is far more active throwing up submissions, attempting just under 2.8 submissions per 15 minutes, compared to only 0.9 submissions per 15 minutes for Dariush. If we look at the takedowns landed for Oliveira on the graph, we can see that he wins majority of his fights when he lands a takedown, winning 15 of 19 fights when he brings it to the ground himself. However, with Dariush's takedown defense of 80%, this could be a problem for Oliveira. If we look at takedowns landed for Dariush, we can see on the graph that he has a win percentage of 91% when he lands a takedown, losing only 1 fight. Also, we can see recently that Dariush has been landing way more takedowns than he did earlier on in his career, so it's likely we could see him wrestle against Oliveira. If we look at what happens when opponents take Oliveira down, we can see that he's lost 4 of 12 times when this has happened. Therefore, getting taken down definitely won't be for the end for Oliveira. If we look at what happens when Dariush gets taken down, we can see that he's lost 2 of 6 fights. Although Dariush has only been taken down by 1 fighter in his past 8 fights, which is a testament to his takedown defense of 80%. To summarize what we've looked at in this video, although Oliveira averages 2.8 submissions attempted per 15 minutes, Dariush wins an astounding 91% of fights that he brings to the ground himself. Therefore, if Oliveira wants a submission win, he'll likely need to take the fight to the ground himself. However, Oliveira only lands 40% of his own takedowns, whereas Dariush defends 80% of opponents' takedowns. On the feet, Oliveira has a 100% win rate when he lands a knockdown, whereas Dariush has a 100% loss rate when he's knocked down. Therefore, on the feet poses the largest threat for Dariush, especially early on in the fight when Oliveira is fresh. Furthermore, we can see recently Oliveira has been doing big damage on the feet, with 3 KOs in his past 8 fights, whereas Dariush has 3 of his 4 losses by KO. We can also see that Dariush has never lost a decision. Therefore, my prediction is that Oliveira wins early by KO or TKO. However, if he doesn't get Dariush out early, Dariush wins by late submission or decision. That's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, do all the good things, and I'll see you guys shortly with more UFC head-to-head analysis.